Geezers, welcome everybody, and welcome to the good old days. And what do we have for the good old days tonight? We have Wesley Snipes' Blade.
That was some good stuff.
Yeah,
that was some good
this
stuff.
was Wesley Snipes' Stephen Dorff Blade. This was a big deal in the summer of '98. There were me and my buddies. We saw the trailer, and they were more Marvel people than I was. I was more DC, and they were getting all excited because they knew Blade from the Marvel comics. Right?
Yep.
Here's
Yeah,
what
and I
stuff
saw
is.
this as Marvel getting away from their very bad 70s and 80s depictions in live action.
This might be the first successful Marvel live action movie.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think you're
And
right.
frankly, as far as I was concerned, Blade was the movie that brought superheroes back to the big screen, because one movie killed superhero movies, and that was Batman and Robin.
Yeah, I kind of did. Yeah.
A couple of years earlier, and it was just a disaster. I mean, it was a year earlier. It was a disaster. It was a. Don't even say you like that movie.
Everybody chill.
It's awful. I could not watch it all the way through. Even for a lark, I would put it on. I could stop after a half hour. I know. Batman had its issues.
I think what bothers me the most is there's a kernel of good story there.
Really?
The execution is just
It's the
terrible.
kernel of good story. The thing with Mr. Freeze and his wife that was done on Batman the Animated Series.
It was done better on the animated.
Much better drama and stuff. It's like Batman Forever. You had Jim Carrey as the Riddler, which I liked, and you had Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face, which I didn't like.
I still contend that even going back to Batman Returns, they should have separated all the villains out. Each villain should have had their own movie. You should not be putting 2 and 3 villains in the same movie.
It kind of cramps the style.
Right.
But yeah. But anyway, here we are, though. Wesley Snipes' Blade, also starring Stephen Dorff as our villain.
Actually, David makes a great point. Wasn't Blade the first R-rated Marvel film? Yeah.
I miss R-rated Marvel films. I miss the Netflix series they had. Disney completely took over Marvel. Now everything has to be. There's certain Marvel characters you can't make PG-13. You shouldn't have to make them PG-13.
Well, not only that, they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to clean it up in some respects, but they also want to adult it up in other ways. And it's like,
no,
pick a lane and stick to it.
Agatha all along. Yeah, we lose Daryl Hannah's butt, but get somebody else's butt. That's what
we're making
a point of. Anyway, though, here we are. Blade. This was a huge movie when it came out. Not necessarily dubbed as a superhero movie in the marketing, because I don't think they even had the Marvel intro on it.
Technically, it's not a superhero movie. It is a comic book movie, but not really superhero.
I don't know. I like how it says the body of a mortal, the soul of a mortal, the body of an immortal, the heart of a hero. I think it says on the front cover. I don't know, but there's the comic book. Mm-hmm. Here we have Wesley Snipes. This movie has one of the best intros I've ever seen. You see Tracy Lords of all people on a hot date with this guy, and she's bringing him to this nightclub. And and then suddenly when he's in the night, she starts ignoring him, and it's like, well, screw this. And it's like all these people are kind of bumping into him and stuff. And then suddenly sprinklers turn on and blood starts pouring on. And then suddenly all the fangs come out of everybody in the club. He's in a vampire club and he's freaking out because I guess he's the main entertainment for these. And then, you think this guy's going to get killed. It's like a horror movie, right? And then out of the shadows walks Wesley Snipes, trench coat, sunglasses. You got the body armor, and they start murmuring, "It's the Daywalker." And then the vampires all start attacking him, and he just starts kicking ass. He just starts turning them into ash, because when you stake a vampire, they turn to ash, sort of like how they did on Buffy. And there's the Tracy Lords vampire. I was always wondering where he stabbed her, but they alluded something, but I don't know. They wouldn't quite go there, but yeah. Look at him smiling.
I am not going to make any Tracy Lords jokes or inferences.
Already getting demonetized as we speak. They'll get a strike.
Yeah, well,
the Tracy Lords
there's more problem there than just.
I know. She was of age in this movie. I was just going to say. Right. Anyway, by the way, this is under not for kids. Okay, so there we go. If Batman can be a superhero and he has no powers, Blade is half vampire, and he's not a superhero, well, I think he's a superhero. I mean, was he killing vampires? Who cares?
He's a super being. I'm just saying he's not a
You think that he's now? I know on the Blade TV series they did. I always thought it was interesting that he was. You had this one group. I guess Vampire Ash in the comics was a drug that people get high off of. So these guys were killing vampires and using the ash to sell it to get people addicted. And Blade sort of looked the other way. But would give money to this mission to deal with the ash addicts. Is like, well, they're still killing vampires. These are bad people, but they're still killing vampires. That's what he's all about.
Pretty morally questionable, but yeah.
All right. One of the vampires he sets on fire. They bring him to a morgue, and he bites this lovely doctor lady here, who I should know her name. Hold on, give me a moment.
Matanui, I was just telling Nate. It has nothing to do with having superpowers. It's about being a hero. The super comes from the powers. The hero comes from the humanity.
Well, okay, whatever. He's not Captain America. Not every hero has to be Captain America.
Right.
Frankly, he's a hero like I would describe Conan the Barbarian. He's that kind of hero. That's how I would explain him.
I will grant you he is the protagonist.
Oh, my goodness. Is he stopping the bad guys? That's all I'm saying.
He's literally hunting them. He's literally going out and killing them. If a cop started going around and killing people that he said were bad, would you consider him a hero?
I don't know. Well, now we're getting into muddy waters. This should be a Friday stream. What defines a hero?
No, I'm just saying. I don't even know why we're talking about him being a superhero. There's nothing in the marketing for this movie. There's nothing within the movie itself where he calls
on the poster. It says he's got a heart of a hero.
Well, he has the heart of a hero on a stake, maybe.
Okay. Anyway, okay, and that's Karen Jensen, the hematologist in the movie. And she gets bitten by this vampire as he comes out. He also attacks, I think, the corner guy. And he just goes running off. And Blade, I guess, decides to, I want to say, take this doctor under his wing because basically she's been bitten by a vampire and she's going to turn, she's going to turn, right? He doesn't give her what he uses, which I think is his serum, right?
Right.
Yeah. But here we go.
Was there even a question of whether it would work for her or not since he was already...
They didn't know.
Yeah.
He didn't know.
Also, real quick, hello, Scott Hughes. Welcome. He says, are we talking Blade? One of my favorites. Part 2 also. 3, not so much.
Let's not talk about 3 right now. Even Ryan Reynolds couldn't save that movie. Anyway, yeah, just he's a hero like Conan the Barbarian. Blade ain't crushing his enemies, and enjoying the immolation of their women. I think when it comes to vampires, yes, he is. If there's some vampire couple who fell in love, he'd probably just
vampire lives matter.
Kill the one. No, that's what I love about this movie. Like, he doesn't care. He just hates vampires. He has a wonderful hatred of the undead, which I thought was a relief.
You're not helping the hero case because he's motivated by hate.
Anyways, you know something. Anyway, here's Chris Christopherson as Whistler.
Yeah.
Remember what happened? I think, what is it? A vampire tortured his family to death in front of him.
Yep.
And left him for dead. So, and I like how one of the evil vampires in this says, in a few minutes, you'll be in hillbilly heaven. Remember that?
Yeah.
And he found Blade as a child because Blade's mother in the movie was bitten while she was pregnant. And she gave birth to him. And that's why he's half human, half vampire. And
it was all pretty much like in the comics. The only thing in the comics took place in the 70s, so mom had this big afro, and actually so did Blade.
Well, to be fair, in the flashback, she does have the afro because it's in the 70s when he's being born. Remember?
They kind of adjusted forward, though. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie when he's going on hunting because he's trying to find out what I believe the villain's name is, Deacon Frost, played by Stephen Dorff.
Yep.
Who was also in the movie The Gate. Remember The Gate?
Yes, I do.
About the record they play backwards and the demons and all that. Okay. This is when they're going up to this club, and I don't know if this is another vampire club or just a regular club, and this guy says, "Do you have an invitation?" And then he just kind of smiles, and then the bouncer goes flying through the window. There's Whistler when he says they catch you effers at a bad time. Remember that? And he starts shooting them because they have silver bullets, right? Because silver kills vampires.
Yes.
They're different. There are rules in this movie. They're different than other vampires. What was it? Crosses and running water don't do anything. But garlic does, oddly enough. Garlic, and then they even had something that was garlic and some kind of silver nitrate mix that they could use to kill vampires.
Weird.
With. But you saw this movie when it came out, right? No?
I'm sorry. I was just reading Matt Inui's kind of.
You saw this movie, right?
Oh, absolutely. I did.
Okay, all right.
I have all the Blade movies on DVD.
Yeah,
I think I have the series on DVD too.
Series is all right. It left on a cliffhanger, which bugged me.
I hate that.
I did like it because it has a sort of a similar theme where I think the young woman there's another young woman in this. She might have been a cop that he basically is giving her the serum, but she's more full on vampire. And he basically is talking to her, and your need for blood, you're an addict. That's what it is.
Yep.
Okay. Which I thought was an interesting way of putting it.
Real quick, Matt Inui said he was making a comment about the Batman not a superhero because he heard that argument a lot. No, yeah, I think it's a real simple one though. You're absolutely right. I mean, the whole thing about, I can see the argument that Iron Man and Green Lantern and Batman, sure, they're heroes. Are they super? Not really. What really makes them super is their heroism, right?
So you think he's super, but listen to me. There's a scene in this movie where Deacon Frost, he's out in the open because I guess they came up with some kind of what is it, like some kind of sunscreen that they can use. So he's out in the daytime and he said, Blade, come talk to me. And he starts saying, look, why don't you join us? He's doing the whole supervillain thing where it's like, join us or whatever. And he gives this whole speech about how, we should be ruling over the humans, blah, blah. And then the only thing that comes out of Blade's mouth is, Frost, you're nothing to me but another dead vampire.
Yep.
And this little girl he's holding hostage. I think he's like, he says that by the time I get done with you, they're going to wish they never cut you from your mothers. And as soon as he does that, Blade pulls out his gun, starts firing at him. Yeah. Frost throws the little girl in the air, and I think finally Blade jumps up to rescue the girl before she gets hit by a car after she falls through some glass or something. And then he runs off, and then Blade says, "Go home." That's all he says to her. I don't know. I love this movie. I love this character. I like the sequel. 2 was good, but
Wesley Snipes is spot on. And
yes.
I know you haven't seen it, so you were a little surprised when I told you this, but he comes back as Blade in all
right, in the new
Deadpool versus Wolverine.
I will check it out as soon as they get around to it. Everyone, Wolf 10 Media channel, the Wolf Fleet. We will be discussing all 3 Blade movies Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Okay, be sure to check that out. I want to say I'm a fan of the first 2, and the first 2 got a little more nuance with the vampires, because in this one you find out that there are pure blood vampires that were born and then turned vampires. So there's like a kind of a class system in the vampire world. Turned vampires are not considered as good as the pure-blooded ones. Did you know that? But they're still vampires, so they're going to look out for them more than they would humans, which are just basically fodder. Unless you're like a Renfield type, or I think they'll get humans to work for them too, in the hopes of being turned into a vampire. That's like the reward.
Oh yeah. I mean, I look at the world around me and I see people that will sell out their own for, a little bit of power, a little bit of greed.
What I loved about this movie is just like he says, they have their hands into everything, politics, real estate. And then he goes up to her and he says, there are worse things out tonight than vampires. And she says, like what? Like me. But you get the idea. In the Blade world, there are other horrifying things too. In fact, they're trying to resurrect this thing called La Magra, the blood god, right?
Yeah.
And I guess it's going to take over Deacon Frost. Like, remember the trailer, you see his eyes glowing red as he has the sword fight with him at the end. Remember that?
Yep.
Love the trailer for this movie. Love the movie itself. Just kick ass, good time. And okay, he's kind of in the same line as I considered other Marvel characters like Ghost Rider and the Punisher, don't you think?
Yeah.
kind of
Absolutely.
in the same vein.
This is what I mean, anti-hero.
Yeah, anti-hero. But you know, he did finally decide to go after the little girl instead of killing Deacon Frost there, you know?
Yeah.
He's not completely soulless, but I don't know. Just
look, even the most complicated villains, which are usually the better villains,
he's more
aren't all evil, right? I mean, look at Kingpin in Daredevil, right? And I mean before Disney came along, right? You know, he clearly had, you know, that something that you associate with the mafia, right? They have people they care about, and they will protect them at all costs. And to a certain degree, there's a goodness in them in that regard. They are capable of having compassion, but that doesn't make them any less villainous in the other things that they're doing.
Yeah, that's true. And even in Blade, sometimes you get more like with some of the vampire characters like this. Like one of the vampires says, look, we need to blend in. We don't need to be starting up things with the humans. We can basically just work within the society we have, you know. We're still going to eat them, you know.
We're still going to eat them.
But it's not like we're not going to bring human civilization to an end, whereas Deacon Frost is like, no, we should be ruling other humans. And he doesn't like the fact that he's not a pureblood, and they kind of look down on him. So he sort of wants to get his revenge on that. So, I don't know.
It's fine. It's fine to be all puritanical and whatnot. The only problem is his particular flavor of hybridism gives him a distinct advantage over the pure blood vampire crowd. Being a daywalker means when you are helpless in your coffin, he can just come and take care of you.
Yeah, basically. He has all their strengths and other weaknesses, but he does age like a human. That was his one weakness. He doesn't have the immortality vampires have. He'll still grow old and die, but he has all the other abilities of vampire, and he can walk around.
I wonder if that's a side effect of the fact that he uses that serum instead of blood.
I don't know. Like, could he become a full vampire if he just started feasting on blood or something?
Well,
I don't know.
I always felt, and this kind of goes throughout vampire lore, and it's kind of predicated on a bunch of biblical scriptures. You know, even back to the Old Testament, that the life is in the blood, right? You know, and blood being the sacrifice for eternal life and so forth. So it was always implied that the vampire needed human blood. It wasn't the blood per se, but so much the life force that is represented by the blood, which you wouldn't have in an artificial serum.
No, I guess not. But it's funny, the hematologist lady, she actually comes up with a cure. She can actually cure vampirism.
Wow.
I think she does at some point, or at least she sees the potential of being able to cure vampirism. But he doesn't want to be cured because then he loses his powers and he has to keep hunting vampires.
But then does that not implicate him of murder if you are capable of capturing and curing the vampire?
Oh. I don't know. I think he can't cure pure blood. She made a point that you can't cure.
I see what you're saying. It was
you can't cure a pure blood, but like Deacon Frost here could probably be turned back into a human. I think that was what she was theorizing. I don't know. We didn't see her in the sequel. I was disappointed by that. Well, here's what was interesting. You know, people complain about women not having roles in these action movies. Here you go, scientist lady. I don't know. I'm just life force.
Yeah.
I like the fact that vampires has familiars. Yeah, kind of like Renfield in a way.
Exactly.
And they kind of kept that going here. And supposedly, I don't know how this was in the comics. I know how they did it in Blade 3, which was just but he actually runs into Dracula, doesn't he, at some point?
Dracula was a very commonly used Marvel character. He's got his own entry in Marvel comics. So they have their own, just like Universal has their own version of Dracula, Marvel has their own version of Dracula.
I often wonder if the Blade guys were inspired by Vampire the Masquerade. I'm not sure. Because it's possible, because the way they actually had a structured vampire society in the movie, and I'm wondering who did it first. Was it the Blade comics or was it Vampire the Masquerade? I don't know.
Actually, the concept of the Masquerade goes before White Wolf games. The idea that vampires.
Was it Anne Rice?
A little bit, but I'd say it goes even before that. I mean, heck, it's implied within Dracula, right? Where he hides his nature. He doesn't let people know that he's a vampire right from the beginning. So it's that's kind of the benefit of something like that. You could say, well, nobody owns that idea, right? So I can use it too.
FKH, the other reason is Tim Blackula. I've not seen that movie. I've heard it's good. I think that was about an African prince that was actually turned into a vampire by Dracula. The title is a little ridiculous, but I heard it's a good movie. It was funny on Venture Brothers, though, they had their Blade character stand in because they had, because they riffed on things. And the Blade character stand in said, I can only kill Blackulas, which are black vampires. You can only kill black vampires because of some rule or something, which I thought was ridiculous.
That is, I don't know.
Like the rule of the superhero guild on that show. Are you kidding me?
That's like,
it's not good enough to kill vampires.
Whose rule is that, and how racist are they?
That was probably the point on the show.
Oh yeah, there you go.
It's like going by like 1970s, like late 60s. It has that very 1960s adventure. Anyway, but